Welcome to Engineering Scale Models. I'm Jason, your host, and I do models and Nintendo Switches. Today we're talking about M92 and what's going on with that circuit. So I have me a switchboard here. I'm going to dump that and bring up this. Hopefully, in that order, it works. So let's try this one. 1 second, technical difficulties. There we go. So I am going to show you M92 right here. This is M92T36. This is the main PMIC charging controller and negotiation circuit. This is what gets you power to around the board. And I'm going to talk about some of the components around here, different values and different things like that. When you run into an issue with it not charging or not drawing any amperage or current, you have a good chance that it is M92. Now, what you want to do when you come into that situation is you want to check all these capacitors for shorts. So you want to put your meter in continuity mode, and you want to put one probe on ground. I use the shield right here next to it, or the USB port, and you want to touch these capacitors. This side here is ground. This side is, you want to make sure there's no short. No short here. This side is ground. These three, 1, 2, 3, are not ground. These three are ground. You want to check for shorts. Right here is the one that you don't want to short, but this is ground. And these capacitors here, I believe that this is the ground pad, and then this is the output, and then here is the output with no short, so no short on the inside of these, and this side is ground, and the same with this one, and I believe that this is a little capacitor. Yes, that is a 10 nanofarad capacitor. And then you have a various set of 100K resistors. Each one of these resistors is 100K. You want to make sure that they read within 100K. All these components can be got on DigiKey. Let's take a look at the components around there and their values. This document was provided to me. It is not my own, but I have tested it and it is correct. So this is your component layout. You have your 3 microfarad capacitors at the top here. You have your 4 microfarad are 1 microfarad, and then a 2.2 microfarad 0402. So that's these right here. And then you have a 1 microfarad or a 2.2 microfarad in this section here. So, and then you have your 10 nanofarad capacitor there. You have a 1 microfarad or 2.2 microfarad 402 components. This little 10 nanofarad here is an 0201. And then you have a 10 nanofarad capacitor here. And then you have a 1 microfarad or 2.2 microfarad, and then a 4.7 microfarad here, and then you have another 201 10 nanofarad capacitor. Now, if I come over here in red, these resistors, these resistors, these resistors, this resistor, these resistors, and these resistors are all 100K resistors, 0201 components. So you want to check all those for shorts. If you have a short on these capacitors here, you're going to look on the back of the board for P13. That is generally going to be your problem with those being short. If these 3 are short here or these 2 are short here, you're going to have an M92 fault. So let's go back here. So that is basically an overview of the M92 circuit. If you lose one of these capacitors, they are bypass capacitors. They are not going to hurt the circuit. It's not going to be critical. If they are missing, it will work without it, but I do recommend that you put capacitors back on there in the appropriate value. You have a MOSFET transistor that I have the information and data for that'll be listed on my Patreon page, and then I also have the information about these 3 transistors around M92 on my Patreon page. And if you have any information on these 3 MOSFETs here, please let me know in the description, or let me know in the comments if you have any information about those MOSFETs, where we can buy them, and all that good stuff. In the meanwhile, on the M92 charging circuit, there is a fuse here. You want to make sure that you have continuity between these 2 fuses. In the document that is provided on my Patreon page, I will have a link to these fuses also. Sometimes you have a diode array here that can go bad if M92 gets blown, and then you have a filter. You want to check for continuity between these 2 points, and to make sure, and also make sure there is no continuity crossways between the 2 filters, because it's 2 separate filters. So, and here's your input capacitor, input bypass capacitor. And if you have any shorts on these capacitors here, you generally have an issue with these MOSFETs. And at this time, I can only find those on a donor board. That's going to do it for this M92 overview. I'm trying to keep these little quick overviews at 10 minutes long, and this one is under that. So here are the links to social media. I'll be posting this image on my Facebook page at Engineering Scale Models. You can also email me if you want a copy of my switch data. I will email it to you. But you can also visit my Patreon page, where I post an updated file every Friday. Thank you so much, and have a fantastic day.